Welcome to our channel Learn and Apply. I am Abrar Hussain. In today's tutorial, we will explore in detail logic models like result framework, logical framework, M&E framework, and M&E plan. These logic models are visual representation that link activities to outcome. They are crucial in monitoring and evaluation or project management. This tutorial, we will explore what these different frameworks and plans are, how they are developed, and will also provide detailed examples and templates for various sectors. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more tutorial. The key content that we will cover in this video are introduction and overview of logic models along with examples from various sectors. The key difference between a result framework, logical framework, M&E framework, and M&E plan, understanding each model with examples from various sectors for result framework, logical framework, M&E framework, and M&E plan, along with templates and additional resources. Stay with me till the end. Already uploaded numerous video tutorial in this series. If you haven't watched these videos, links are given in the description. Visit my channel. You will find proper playlist of relevant contents on each subject. Let's start with introduction and overview of these logic models. All the materials and templates used in this video tutorial are available in a folder. Link is given in the description of the video on YouTube. Logic models outline the relationship between resources, activities, outputs, and outcome. They serve as blueprints for effective planning and evaluation. The blueprint approach is basically a strategic planning framework used to guide the development and implementation of projects or programs. It serves as a comprehensive plan that outlines the necessary components, processes, and expected outcomes, providing a structured roadmap for achieving specific goals. Logic model clarify how intervention lead to intended results, helping organization clarify their goals and strategy. These models show us how a problem can be addressed and gives us a step-by-step process to address the problem and achieve goals. In education sector, a logic model demonstrating how training teacher leads to improved students' performance. Every logic model is basically based on a problem. Here we can see a problem like low student scores, how an intervention like teacher training can lead to impact and goals, like in this case, better students' performance. Example for health, how increased access to healthcare resources leads to better health outcomes. For example, if the problem is high rates of preventable diseases in the population, so how this input leads to an activity and that leads to output, outcome, and impact. In awash sector, the relationship between clean water access and community health improvement. Here you can see a problem like high rates of disease. So how different inputs, activity, output will lead to the intended impact, which is to reduce waterborne diseases. In a protection sector, how protection services lead to reduced vulnerability among at-risk population. How a problem like safety and security concern can be addressed through different inputs, activities, output, outcome. In an emergency project, how rapid response resources improve during crisis. there are these four critical models: the result framework, logical framework, M&E framework, and M&E plan. Each model has unique features that facilitate effective project management. These models are developed in this sequence. First, you develop result framework, then logical framework, then M&E framework, and then M&E plan. Let's discuss these models one by one and examples for these models in different sectors. We will start from a result framework. This is one of the documents which we need to develop before all other logic models. A result framework is a strategic planning tool that focuses on the desired outcome of a project or program. A results framework is primarily focused on outlining the hierarchy of results, goal, outcomes, outputs that a project seeks to achieve. It helps organizations define the chain of cause and effect relationship between inputs, activities, outputs, outcome, and impact. For example, in a health program, a result framework would show how investing in training healthcare workers results in improved patients' outcomes and reduced mortality rates. Look like this. First, you start goal and then the relevant outcomes. Then under each outcome, the different outputs, like under outcome 1, output 1.1, output 1.2, and similarly under outcome, output 2.1 and 2.2. And then under outputs, the key activities under each output. This is basically an example of a result framework, how different activities contribute to the outputs and how those outputs contribute to outcome and then goal. So this is basically an example of a result framework. Key components of a result framework are inputs, activities, outputs, outcomes, and goals or impact. Let's discuss examples and templates for different sectors. For example, you need these levels of descriptions when you are working on them. Like here you can see an example of education where the goal is improved quality of education in public schools. Outcomes are teachers apply student-centered teaching methodologies. Outputs are to train 3,000 teachers, and the activity is to conduct 10 teacher training workshops. When you finalize these statements, then you will need to add them to this format. Here you will need to explain the goal, the different outcomes, the outputs. This is just organogram smart art which you can develop. The contents of result framework with statement for goals, outcome, outputs, and activities for different sectors. Remember, you will need to use this format for result framework. Here is an example of a health sector result framework. You can see here the goal: improve health outcomes in communities. Outcome 1 is reduce incidence of disease, increased access to healthcare services. These are the different outputs and these are the different activities. This is just an example of a health sector result framework. You can pause the video and read them in detail. I'm just showing you examples. Example of education sector: enhance educational access and quality. That is the goal. Here are two outcomes. First one, improved literacy rates, higher enrollment rates. And these are the different outputs, and here you can see the examples of activities. Here is an example for wash sector. If the problem is related to safe water and sanitation, goal is to ensure safe water and sanitation. There are two outcomes. One is increased access to clean water. Another one is improved sanitation facilities. And these are the different outputs under each outcome: water supply systems established and hygiene promotion activities. Here is an example of DRR sector: increase resilience to disasters. This is the goal. There are two outcomes: enhanced community preparedness, and second is reduced vulnerability to disasters. And these are the different outputs for outcome 1, output 1, and for outcome 2, output 2, and similarly these different activities. Here is an example of protection sector. Safeguard vulnerable populations through outcomes like strengthened protection mechanism, empowered community support systems. These are the different outputs and the key activities to contribute to that goal. And here you can see an example for emergency project. Provide emergency response, timely distribution of aid, efficient coordination of response, emergency response plans created, resource allocation for emergencies, conduct needs assessment for aid, mobilize resources for rapid response. These were some examples related to statements for different levels of a result framework for different sectors. As mentioned before, you will need to use this format, adding the statement and description that we discussed in previous slides for goals, then the relevant outcomes, then the outputs and relevant activities under each outcome. This is basically the result framework structure to show that how different inputs and activities will contribute to outputs and outcome and ultimately the desired goal. As mentioned earlier, all the material and templates used in this video tutorial are available in a folder. The link is given in the description of the video on YouTube. When you develop a result framework, then you need to develop logical framework based on the result framework. The logical framework or Logframe is a systematic planning and management tool focused on the result framework that we just discussed in our previous slide. It is focused on that, and it outlines a project structure by breaking down goal, purpose, outputs, activities, indicators, means of verification, and risks. This is basically an extended version of the result framework. A log frame is basically a more detailed tool used for both planning and monitoring and evaluation of a project. The key elements of a logical framework are goals, objectives, outcomes, outputs, activities, indicators, means of verification. It combines the results hierarchy like the result framework, but also includes indicators, means of verification, and assumptions. Here you can see on this side the different levels, the descriptions, the statement for those levels, relevant indicators and targets, means of verification, and a risk associated with these different types of indicators and activities. Let's discuss examples and templates for logical framework different sectors. For this, you can use a simple matrix or tabular form like this. Here we need a result statement, indicator, means of verification, and assumption. In the result framework, we had only statement for these different levels. Now we will need the relevant indicators, what would be the means of verification. Here is an example of a logical framework for education sector. You can see the goal level result, the relevant indicators for that result. If the goal is to improve literacy and school attendance, so our indicator is literacy rate among children aged 6 to 14. What would be the means of verification? National education surveys. There could be issues in achieving the desired results if there is no government support for educational reform. Similarly, you can see here the outcome, increase school attendance. Here you can see the relevant indicator, % increase in students' attendance. If school remain open and accessible, so we can achieve this outcome. And these are the different outputs. And here you can see the different activities, classroom construction, teacher training, and good coordination between school administrators and authorities. This is an example of a logical framework for education. Example for health sector. I don't want to make a lengthy video. You can pause the video. These different statements, relevant indicators, the means of verification. Here is an example for wash sector. The goal is improve access to clean water. This is the indicator for that. These are the means of verification. What would be the required means of verification if we report that this indicator has been achieved? Here is an example for protection sector. Goal is to reduce child exploitation and abuse. This is the indicator. You can add different more than one indicator, and here are the means of verification. Here is an example for DRR sector. To strengthen disaster preparedness, these are the different indicators, and here you can see the means of verification. Here is an example for emergency related project. We will discuss now M&E framework. When you developed a logical framework, then you need to develop M&E framework. And here you can see that the different indicators of logical framework are here in the M&E framework. Here we have added definition to those indicators, the data sources, the data collection method, the frequency, and the person responsible. Monitoring and evaluation framework provides a structure for tracking project implementation and measuring its result. When you develop result framework, so then the M&E framework will ensure that all those indicators are properly defined, their data source, how data will be collected, what is the frequency of the data collection, and who is responsible. Indicators, data sources, data collection method, and responsibilities. M&E framework basically ensure that data is systematically gathered and analyzed to assess progress. Let's discuss examples and templates for different sectors. For this also you can use simple matrix or tabular form like this. Here we need the relevant indicators, data source, what is the baseline value, what is the target, and the frequency and responsibility. Education sector M&E framework. We have extracted indicators and objectives from the logical framework, and here we added data source, baselines, targets, frequency, and who is responsible. Here you have now a baseline value for those indicators, what would be the target for your project that you can discuss and finalize in consultation with the project management team, what would be the frequency of data collection annually, quarterly. Here is an example for a health sector M&E framework. Goal is to reduce maternal and child mortality. So this is indicator maternal mortality rate. Data sources national health reports. Baseline is currently, for example, 300 per 100,000. So the target is to reduce this number from 300 to 200. You can reduce it as per your resources and the available funds. In consultation with project management team, you can decide about the target and the frequency and hierarchy. Here is an example for wash sector. Objectives, indicators, the data sources, the baseline, the targets, frequency. Here is an example for protection sector. Reduce child exploitation and abuse. Indicator is number of child abuse cases reported. There are these other indicators, there are data sources, baseline value. There could be baseline value 0 also, mostly for numbers indicator, because if you are starting train social workers, so obviously the baseline would be 0. Here is an example for DRR sector. Different level statements, indicator, data source, baseline, target, frequency, and responsible. Here is an example for emergency sector. This is the goal. Here is indicator, then the data source, baseline, target, and frequency and responsible person. And then based on the M&E framework, you need to develop M&E plan. M&E plan is a detailed guide of the M&E framework that specifies how and when monitoring and evaluation activities will take place. It defines who is responsible for data collection, the timeline for M&E activity, the tools used, and how the data will be analyzed and reported. The plan ensures that all stakeholders are aligned on evaluation processes and timeline. The key elements of an M&E plan are M&E activities, timeline, roles and responsibilities, indicators, and reporting mechanism. For example, in a disaster response project, the M&E plan would detail how progress towards improved community resilience is tracked, who collects the data, and how the data is reported to donors. Let's discuss examples and templates for different sectors. For this also you can use a simple matrix or a narrative format or tabular form like this. Here you would need project title, the goal, the objectives, and then you need to add those indicators here, their baseline target, and what would be the data collection, responsible person, timeline, and then reporting mechanism also you can add different columns for them. An example for education sector. Our project is enhancing literacy rates. This is the goal. Here are the two objectives. This is our indicator baseline target. These are our data collection methods. These are the responsible persons. And here are timeline. You can add here data analysis plan also. You can add as much as detail. This is just a simple structure of an M&E plan for education sector. Here is an example for health sector. Project goal, objectives, and then this is the M&E plan to track progress of these indicators. ToC is also among these models, but that is usually developed at the very initial stage. Logic models are usually based on problems, which is key part of a ToC theory of change. Here is an example of a theory of change. It starts from problem, then root cause, interventions, indicators for measurable outcome, and then intermediate outcome in long-term goal impact. First, you identify a problem, you analyze the root causes, develop interventions to address the issues and the root causes, indicators and outcomes, and long-term goal or impact. Now we will discuss the key difference between a result framework, logical framework, M&E framework, and M&E plan. You might be confused between the result framework and logical framework. Let's see the difference. The result framework and the logical framework are both tools used in project management and evaluation, but they serve slightly different purposes and are structured differently. Here is breakdown of the key difference between these two documents. A result framework is primarily focused on outlining the hierarchy of results, goal, outcomes, outputs that a project seeks to achieve. For example, here in this structure you see goal, outcomes, output, and activity. Only the statements are there. A Logframe is a more detailed tool used for both planning and monitoring and evaluation of a project. It combines the result hierarchy like the results framework, but also includes indicators, means of verification for each level of the results chain. A result framework is more commonly used for strategic planning and ensuring alignment with organizational goals, while a log frame is used for both planning and monitoring and includes more detailed planning for tracking progress. Here you can see example of a result framework. This is logical framework. This is an example of M&E framework, and this is an example of M&E plan. Here on this slide, you can pause the video and see the different features of these different documents like result framework, logical framework, M&E framework, and M&E plan. Logic models are invaluable tools that help organizations effectively plan, implement, and evaluate their projects across various sectors. In this video tutorial, we explored the essential components and applications of the result framework, logical framework, M&E framework, and M&E plan. Using these models effectively ensures better planning, implementation, and evaluation of projects, ultimately leading to improved outcomes. I hope this tutorial helped you grow and improve your skills related to M&E. Thank you for watching. Already uploaded a numerous video tutorial in this series, like this one, which was focused on monitoring, evaluation and research. The next one was only focused on monitoring and detail. This one was focused on evaluation, and in this one we discussed result-based management. If you haven't watched these videos, links are given in the description. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for more tutorial. If you have any questions or need further assistance, leave a comment below. Also feel free to leave any feedback or suggestions for topic you would like us to cover in our future tutorial. Have a great day. See you in the next video.